Good evening, everybody. This evening on All Talk Paranormal Show, we have the fantastic Marti and Michael Parry, which were on our first virtual event we did. They were on our first Festival of the Unexplained. And because you love them so much, we've brought them back. Hello.
Hello, Karen.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here with you.
And how are you both, firstly?
Don't ask.
Oh,
We're doing okay.
We're doing okay. Yeah.
it's all we can do at the moment, isn't it? Is do okay. There's not much else we can do. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. So.
Well, we haven't had a function in 9 months, 10 months.
Yeah, we can't do group sessions. We've only
Actually,
done
10 months. Yeah, 10 months. We haven't been able to do anything.
except for a home group. We can't. We don't mind doing.
Yeah, we did one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been hell, really.
So we just do the
very frustrating.
private sessions.
Not being able to do your work, you know.
Yeah. It must be so frustrating, especially with you guys with the filming and all the different opportunities that you get, and you just haven't been able to do them this year, unfortunately.
That's right.
But,
Everything.
sorry, I didn't hear. I missed you then.
Oh, it just puts a bite on everything. Everything
Yeah.
like on hold.
I know. It's like sick of everything being on hold now. It's like, come on, let's just get on. Let's just do something. Let's get out. Let's go and interact with other people. It's great doing this. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic having the opportunity that we've all got with doing the virtual thing and everything. But it's just not the same, is it?
It isn't.
No, we enjoy a lot doing the public groups, you know, where we have a nice crowd of people, and it's just different. You know.
It's just really not the same, though, is it? Like I said, me personally, I like to see people. I'm a hugger, so I like to, you know, I'm one of those.
Both huggers.
Well, it isn't the same, though, is it? Because even if you could see people, there is no human contact still. I don't think I like that. I don't think I could do it.
Well, you know, it suits all the people that don't like human contact, doesn't it? All the
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Actually, my niece is a bit like that. She's one of those ones you hug them and they give you a little pat.
Oh my God.
They feel very awkward.
It was very nice.
It's sad, isn't it? Really.
It was very nice recently that we had the opportunity to do a home group, and everybody acted as normal, you know.
Yeah.
It was like it was, you know, back to being normal.
I know, it's kind of what is going to be normal now, isn't it? We just don't know anymore, do we? That's the unfortunate thing.
Well, some people don't.
I don't think I'll ever be normal. I don't think I ever have been. I don't think I ever will be.
I don't believe this is going to be the new normal. Trust me.
No. I think the new normal is going to be really fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit different than people think. It's not going to be this rubbish. Anyway,
I hope not.
It's not disgusting.
Anyway, on a positive, you said you've been able to do one of your home groups, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And all Marty's pictures were recognized. One of them she posted. What was he? I
can't remember.
What was his
name? Oh, his uncle. Their uncle.
Their uncle, yeah. That was a pretty good one, that one. I think the Marty's pictures, definitely she captures them. I mean, some are extraordinary. It's like she's traced them, you know. And others you can see in the eyes, and you can see in certain features it's absolutely them, you know. But I think that just depends on the communicator, and of course you have psychic situations around Earth that sometimes prevent or make it difficult for communication to take place.
It's just like with any communication with the other side. Sometimes it's really, really, really good, and other times it's only Medium.
Yeah, some of the greatest mediums, you know, they sat there and nothing happened. So I've just been reading Leslie Flint's book for the umpteenth time. And you know who he is, Leslie Flint?
I don't know. It's
One of
over
the
there or over here?
one of the great British mediums. He was, I mean, he was a direct voice medium.
Right.
Ectoplasm would come out of him, usually out of his ear, and it would form a human larynx in the air beside him. He was fully conscious. He could talk to you, he was wide awake. And the spirit people would possess the larynx in the air, and communicate with you directly. So it's called direct voice. So just like we're talking, whoever was talking to you would talk to you just like I'm talking to you, and say, hi, hey Karen, it's me, remember, blah 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 blah. And all of his recordings are online, you can listen to them. And they're phenomenal. He was the most tested medium in the world. The Psychic Research Institute used to test him regularly, so he was tested all over the place. One of the things he would do was hold a glass of water in his mouth for the entire time he was in trance, and then spit out the exact amount of water, minus maybe a few drops. But it's an impossibility to make any sound with a mouthful of water. You just can't do it. And so, but the voices would talk away. So
that's amazing.
And they filmed him too, using night vision cameras and things like that, because he had to do it in the dark, because it's an ectoplasmic thing. Well, not complete darkness. You can use a red light, which doesn't interfere with the ectoplasm. But ectoplasmic mediums using ectoplasm, or not using ectoplasm, but mediums with a large amount of ectoplasm available to the spirits. If the spirits were using it this way, it can be very dangerous for a medium. So he had to be well protected, because if a medium is interfered with in any way, like Helen Duncan, do you know who Helen Duncan is? Helen Duncan.
Do you know what, Marty? You're basically you're going to educate me tonight.
Okay, a little bit of an
the sound of it.
So Helen Duncan.
That's his showing his age.
Helen Duncan was another great medium who was during the wartime period, World War II, and she died because a policeman rushed in and grabbed her while she was in trance, and she suffered a trauma because of it and died, because the ectoplasm will rush back into the body and tear the body. You've got to.
I was taught about this in
well,
in many ways. When I used to go to Circle,
it can kill you. Basically, it can at least badly injure you at the minimum. And so Leslie was told, you have to be very careful, because you're an ectoplasm medium, and you have to have people around you that are aware of this and protect you, so that people that, you know, shouldn't be there or mean you harm in some way you have to be aware of this. So this is one reason why I'm not keen to do that kind of mediumship, although I borderline go there, and I know I can do that, but I don't want to, because I'm doing it in public with people I don't know. Leslie Flint had the Air Vice Marshal of England coming on stage telling everyone who Leslie Flint was. I mean, he was quite something. Thousands of people. He filled halls with several thousand people every weekend and month. And he'd sit in a little cabinet on stage, because he had to be in the dark, So they made a little box for him, and he'd sit in there, and they had a microphone just outside the cabinet, and you know, some son would come through and say, "Hey, Mum, it's me. I want to speak to my mum. She's at the back of the hall." And this lady would stand up and have a chat with her son that died in the war. You know, it's amazing, just amazing guy. And you know, my master was a medium too, the world's greatest medium. So there you are. So I don't know why I'm telling you about Leslie Flint. Leslie Flint. Well, here's an interesting thing. Leslie Flint, his main spirit guide was Rudolph Valentino. And he was told many times when he was younger, sitting in spiritualist circles, that there was an Arab that wanted to speak to him. They kept seeing this Arab around him. But it was Rudolph Valentino. I call him, his nickname. He goes by Rudy to his friends. And so Rudy died. Leslie loved watching the movies of Rudolph Valentino, but he didn't realize he was his spirit guide. And this medium in Germany, this is really good mediumship, right? So there's this medium in Germany. She's German. Doesn't speak English. She speaks to a client in one of the groups she's doing, and tells her that you have to go back to England. When you go back to England, you must contact Leslie Flint, who lives at this address, gives her the full address, and tell him that Rudolph Valentino is his spirit guide. And he wishes him to pursue mediumship, because Leslie's kind of wobbling. He wants to be a dancer and all this, you know.
Right.
And he says, and he's been flirting with mediumship. He's been going to circles and things, but he's really not really into it. And this medium says, you know, Rudolph Valentino wants you to pursue this and is urging you to do this. And the woman delivers the note, and that's the time when Leslie says, "Oh, blow it, you know, I suppose this is what I'm going to do." And he decides to do it. But that's pretty cool, isn't it? And I've spoken to Rudolph Valentino a few times. And when Marty ordered the book of Leslie Flint, which I wanted, I said, "Get me a hard copy of that, will you? Because it's a great book."
And it was hard to find, and back then we were just barely scraping by.
And it was expensive.
Yeah, expensive.
And but she found a cheaper copy of it and bought it. And inside, it's signed, "All best wishes to Michael from Leslie."
Wow. No.
So I thought, oh, that
was meant to be.
Cool. I mean, what are the odds?
You know,
seriously, you're not pulling my leg. Honestly, you're seriously.
No, I can show you the book. I could show it to you.
When I ordered it, it said it was a signed copy.
Yeah, it just said signed copy. It didn't say what it said in it. And she.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's
amazing, but crazy all at the same time. How? Wow.
And before I knew read Leslie's book, and before I knew his connection with Rudolph Valentino, that I had communicated with Rudolph Valentino. And the lady that came to see us, I didn't know who she wanted to talk to. So she sits down, and this guy called Rudy comes in, and he starts talking to me, and he says, "That's my girlfriend." I said, "Oh." I never asked him when he died, you see. I assumed that he had died recently. So, because she knew who I was talking to. So I said, "Oh, you know who this is? I think he's a boyfriend of yours." And she says, "Yes." And they have this conversation about what they've done together. Remember when
riding a carriage?
Yeah, remember when we rode a carriage in New York? Well, I thought, well, you know, I'm not thinking they still have carriages. So I'm thinking, oh, this isn't way back in the past, because maybe they just went to New York and rode around the park in a carriage, you know. And all these things he's saying to her, and she's completely getting it. And afterwards, Marty drew this, one of the little pictures she got was Valentine.
Oh, yeah, the Valentine card.
But the light bulb went off in Marty, and she realized who I was talking to. She said, "Oh, it's Rudolph Valentino. You're talking to Rudolph Valentino." And I said, "What?" And the woman says,
Oh.
yes, that's who you're talking to. And I was like, what?
Oh my goodness. That's
and I thought, oh yeah, I never asked him when he died. I didn't. I just assumed that he was just
It was
recently
a past
gone over,
life.
you know.
you just made you just assumed
Yeah,
it was more of a
didn't-
recent thing, not a
to ask him, you know, when he when he died. So that was
that's
the funny
crazy.
thing. Yeah. So
That's
I'm
absolutely
just kind
crazy.
of, this is kind of just a thing about how things come together sometimes. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, how much more connected you are than you realize sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
The what?
At the Omen House.
Oh yeah, when we went to the Omen House, do you know where that's this guy up in Hollywood who
It's near the Sharon Tate.
near where Sharon Tate's house was. It's just kind of up the road a bit. And we went there and we had this communication with Sharon Tate for an hour. But just prior to that, I went out on the balcony and I was staring across at this round house up on the hill. And this person says, I said, that's an interesting house. She says, oh, Rudolph Valentino used to live there. I said, oh, that's interesting.
No.
Yeah.
He's got to be winding me. Seriously.
Yeah. This is normal. So this is the kind of normal day to day for us. And it's been a bit tough this year because we're not getting out and about. We're not having these kind of connections that we normally have.
You should hear of all the connections we've had with John Wayne in the past.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. You know, it's like off the charts. I've talked to John so many times, and I'll give you an instance. We went away once for a trip, so we were going up to Washington, to our somewhere up in Washington, to see a friend, and on the way there were endless connections with John. And so we got to Reno and we did a few sessions there with people. And John popped in to say hello to someone that used to live up the street from him. And she, you know, it was just like she'd come by and say, oh, hello, Mr. Wayne. And she'd be walking a dog or something. So they were kind of neighbors. And I said, well, he just wants to say hello to you. He just came by to say hi. So we end that. We get in the car and we're leaving Reno and just driving away. And this car cut me up and like nearly hit my car, and I was like, wow, you idiot, you know. And she says, no, look at the license plate. And I looked and it said Duke to you. What, he was called the Duke. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a sign if there is ever one.
That's just nuts.
Yeah. And then we got up and then we drove up and we walked in a store and there's a big John Wayne picture there. And then we walked in another place and another John Wayne picture. I'm like, wow, this is weird. And then we went into this, we had our trailer at the time and we stopped at this RV place, little tiny in the middle of nowhere. Walked in and she had this John Wayne clock on the wall. And I said, oh my goodness, look. I said, I got to mention it. I said, oh, you like John Wayne, do you? I see you got a John Wayne clock in there. And her husband was sitting in the living room listening to a cowboy movie, like an old 50s cowboy movie. Oh, yes, she says, my husband could have been John Wayne's double for a movie.
He knew him.
He knew him.
And they look a lot like him.
They look a lot like. So he was going to be his double in a movie, and there he was in there sitting listening to a cowboy movie. And I thought, oh, this is crazy. And then we get up to our friend's place finally after all these things. I mean, there were more. And we get to her house and I said, oh, I've got to use your restroom. Can you tell me where it is? Yeah, it's down the hall. I go in the restroom and it's all John Wayne.
Called John.
She calls it John's John. I mean, it was nuts. I was like, oh, you've got to be.
Yeah, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, if you didn't see it all out.
One of those incidents.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny.
That is mad. We got a couple of questions.
And I'm like, oh, this is funny. This is funny. So, yeah, back to Helen Duncan. Helen Duncan, you know, she visited me while I was doing a session for someone over the internet who lived in Canada. And it turned, I said, I saw this lady, she was kind of round, large, small,
Round.
black hair, short black hair. I said, who are you? She said, I'm Helen. He knows me, she said. And the older man that was on the radio thing that she brought in for me to do this for, used to sit with Helen Duncan in her spirit circles. And Helen Duncan sort of told him off. Because I forget what I said to him, but the woman afterwards says, oh my goodness, he got a bit of a telling off from Helen.
I guess he wasn't doing what he was
doing what he was supposed to be
Oh, he did.
Yeah, so she gave him a bit of not telling off, but I guess set him straight, you know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, we got the ball rolling here. Anybody got any questions or things they want?
Yeah, we've got some people making absolutely fascinating, loving this. People say, I could listen to you all night.
He could
I forgot that I'm actually here to ask questions because I've just listening to you. I can. Right, let me ask some questions from the public before they all go away. Jess, how can I learn about abilities that I may have?
Well, you have to practice, and you have to practice with, you know, hopefully you can find somebody that's legit who, you know,
which is important.
Yeah, it's important to, if you can find a mentor of some sort, that's always the best way. Somebody that really knows what they're doing. It's
not a school that just churns them out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
I was lucky. I had the lady that ran my circle. I met her at church, and I went to one of her suppers, and we stood at the bar, and I was getting a glass of coke, and she said, I'll see you Thursday. I said, what do you mean I'll see you Thursday? So I'll send you my address. I went, why are you sending me your address, and why am I seeing you Thursday? She went, when you come round for circle. Circle? What do you mean? She said, oh yeah. She said, yeah, because you're joining my circle, aren't you? I went, am I? She said, yeah, that's why you're here. It's like, no, I came because it was a supper and I liked it. She said, no, you're joining my circle. She said, that's why we've met. She said, so I'll see you at this time at this address. I was like, okay, and that's how it.
Oh, okay.
That's how it started for me. That was mad.
Yeah, well,
they always say when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. So.
Yeah, I believe that. I learned a heck of a lot from her. We've got another question. Sorry.
Did we answer her question? I think that you have to practice. You have to. You can't get anywhere unless you practice. You have to practice on, you know, and read as much as you can. And
everybody has the ability, but how much they can use it for is up to them, really.
Yeah, some people just have more of a
but you have to dedicate yourself if you really want to do it well.
Yeah, you can't just keep it up and drop it. You either want to do it and you're going to dedicate yourself to it, or if you're not going to and you don't, then don't bother.
Right,
exactly.
Right, all or nothing.
No disrespect, but that's what I would
do as a hobby.
Yeah, all or nothing. Yeah. There's a lot of hobbyists out there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, it's either exactly like you said, you either go full bore or you don't bother at all. There's no, you can't keep dipping in and out in whatever. Like you said, it's not a hobby. It's like it's a lifelong commitment, isn't it?
It is. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our life, our everyday. Everything we do is connected.
Now, see, I think that's important. That is for people to know, though, isn't it? Because otherwise, you get a lot of people think, oh, well, I can just go and have a bit of a go at it, and they do use it as, you know, they do it as a hobby, and
you know, I mean, you can just do it when you feel like it, but
it's not going to be
what we're trying to do. What we are doing is presenting evidence on a regular basis, you know, hardcore, every generation that comes along seems to forget what happened before. So it's a constant thing. You're constantly having to educate people because every new generation comes up, doesn't know anything. I mean, look at the mediums I just told you about. Half the people out there have no idea who these people are.
You see, I didn't until you just said, so now I'm going to look them up.
Yeah, look them up. I mean, you know, I mean, Helen Duncan was tried at the Old Bailey for treason, for crying out loud, during the war because she was so good. They had to shut her up. They were they put her in prison, for Christ's sake. Because she knew about a battleship that had been sunk, actually 2, and 6 months before it was announced. And the Ministry of Defense was trying to keep it quiet because these massive ships had gone down with all hands, and she knew all about it because she talked to one of the sons on the ship. And they, you got to look into this because this is, I mean, she even told the judge, I'll show you, I'll demonstrate, and he wouldn't let it. And 300 people, famous people, came forward to her defense and said, and testified to her defense, and they still put her in prison.
Mad. It's crazy how things have changed.
Oh yeah. This is
crazy.
You know, they don't want the truth out there. They don't want you to know.
There's a lot of things now they don't want you to say all the truth out there. Certain things now these days.
Right. Yeah. Truth doesn't suit certain people.
Yeah. Jen's got a question for you. Have you seen Scott Milligan?
Who's Scott Milligan?
Never heard of him, actually.
I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is. No, I have not.
Oh, hold on. I've gone too far. I've gone too far. I've lost it now. Okay, here's one from Shelley. Have you ever had any... See, I think everyone wants to know this question. Have you ever had contact friends with Diana?
No contact. No.
Now, if we had somebody that knew her in life come to us,
maybe
then we could.
But I've never seen her. She's never communicated to me. Of all the people out there, she would be somebody that I would love to communicate with, but I've never seen her.
See, what kind of proof is there when people say that they are talking to Princess Diana when, you know, you don't have any evidence of that was her? If you sit with somebody that knew her, then you can get specific evidence.
like the other day, a friend of ours' mother died. I was sitting at lunch with her. We went to see her because she's having a hard time of this. Her mother was a friend of ours. And there was a mum. She just sat down in the chair opposite me. And I started talking with her. I said, oh, your mum's here with your dad. And she brought up this locket. I said, well, you've got to tell us something really cool, something that I don't know, she doesn't know. So she really knows you're sitting there. She said, tell her about the locket. It's square. It's square, she said. And an unusual locket. Yeah. Normally they're oval or round. I said, she says it's square. And I kept seeing a face in it. I said, well, I can see there's a face in it. Well,
you thought it was her picture.
I thought it was a picture because I kept seeing the face in the locket. Well, she just found a hand-me-down from like 4 generations of this locket just 2 days ago.
What?
That was hidden away, that her mother had kept for her. And it's square and it has a mirror in it. And of course, if you open it, you're going to see a face in it, aren't you?
Yeah, of course you are.
And she hadn't told us about that. She hadn't said anything about it, and she had just found it, and it was very special. It was handed down to her because she's the only girl.
Right.
So I said, well, that's cool. And the mother said other things. So it's those kind of things that nobody could know, and even better, it is things that they tell you that you have no idea about, that haven't even happened yet.
Yeah, things when that you can't look up, especially for a famous person, you can't. There's so much out there that you can just regurgitate. Yeah.
We were at the home group, not the home group. No, we were doing a Skype the other day, and there was a daughter with her husband and her mother. And I said to her, oh, well, you know, the spirit people talking away, and about 6 of them all said the same thing. I said, oh, you're going to have a girl, you know. No, you're going to have a boy.
It's going to be one or the other.
Oh, yeah.
I said, you're going to have a boy. You're not pregnant, are you? It's due in July, you know. You can have the... So she didn't say anything. I said, well, if you're not pregnant at the moment, it'll have to be the following year, but it's gonna come in July. And I kept saying this to her, and she never said nothing. The boyfriend never said nothing. So I get this email from her the next day. She is pregnant. Her husband thinks it's a boy, and it's due in July. She hasn't said anything to her mum because she's had 2 miscarriages in 1 year.
Right, okay.
And she's nervous about it. And I told her, it's coming out. Boy's coming out.
Oh, hope they're not watching this. Maybe she hasn't told them yet.
Well, anyway, we get another email from her mother, hopeful that I'm right, because her daughter still hasn't told her. And I'm like, oh, my goodness.
It's like waiting for Christmas.
So, you know, so often they've predicted children. I'll give exact dates that, oh, you're going to have a girl on this day, on this month. You know, the little brother on the other side says, you know, this, that, and the other, and even give me the names of the children, and they've named them a name almost identical, like Sophie, Sophia. Close enough, right? I said Sophie, they called her Sophia, and forgot all about the name I said, because so much time had gone by. They forgot about the session and the name I said to them. So many times they predict the future. You know, lots of things. I knew all about bin Laden's assassination a week before it happened. I told an FBI agent, and both Marty and I described the entire situation, and it all came to pass. And he told the Secret Service, and the Secret Service got back to him.
The Secret Service that was...
He was a friend. He had a friend in the Secret Service, and he told
Right, okay.
And a week later, it happened exactly when I said it would happen. But
have you had many occasions like that?
They didn't kill Osama bin Laden. They killed his body double. They didn't kill him.
Wow.
That's what I'm telling you, right? This is what I know.
I don't disbelieve you either. I don't know. I genuinely don't disbelieve you either.
All I can do is tell you that because of what I was told, I know.
Wow.
And that's why SEAL Team 6 died, because they knew they didn't kill Osama bin Laden. It was to shut them up. It was to shut them up.
That's mad. Have you had many occasions like that where you've got information that something's going to happen, and it has?
Yeah. Well, you know, the day before 9/11.
Yeah.
The day before, we were at a show up in Pasadena. It was one of these psychic fairs, you know. We were doing those for a few years in the early days. And this lady sits down, and her mother is talking to me, and she's going on about aircraft and flight attendants. And I was tired. I'd been at it all day. And she didn't know what I was talking about. Her mother wasn't an air hostess, wasn't on planes. Marty drew the old American Airlines badge. That's one of the little pictures she drew. And we couldn't figure this out.
Oh, well, I drew it on her.
On a lapel.
Her grandmother.
Yeah. Yeah, she drew her grandmother, and she drew the American Airlines badge on there.
Yeah.
Next day, that's when 9/11 happened. And we didn't put it together because we'd kind of forgotten about the session and stuff. And then she contacted us, and I said, oh my God, yeah, your mum was going to tell me about this, but I couldn't. I was a bit tired, and I couldn't understand what she was talking about. And I said, what effect did it have on you? And she said, well, I knew then that that's what my mother was trying to tell me. So I got on the telephone lines, the suicide helplines for a couple of years to talk with people because of that, because of what my mother came in. I said, oh, that's pretty cool.
Wow. Thing is, you don't always remember things because it's not your information to remember.
That's exactly it. Unless
you're given it to pass on. It's not your information. You don't need to remember it.
No.
It's not for you to remember. It's for you to.
It's like people that call and say, "Oh, well, we did this before."
I go,
do
no,
you
did we? I go, did we? I don't know.
I don't remember.
Right. I only remember things that are really so unique, and they like stick in my head, and I go, wow, that was interesting, you know. Because I'm like a fly on the wall.
I repeat it so many times, like the one Dale that comes through for several different people.
Yeah. when somebody shows up for several different people, you know, and I've never seen any of them before. But I do get to know the spirit people more than I do even the clients often. You know, there was this one guy called Al that came through once for his wife, and he died in a car accident, drunk in a truck, crashed into him just after as he was driving away from his mother's funeral, for crying out loud. So this woman in a truck, she's drunk, she comes across the road, plows into his truck on a bend, kills him dead. And his wife is in the car behind him and sees the entire thing and can't get the door open. There's her husband in the truck. She can't get to him, and so she doesn't know if he's dead or is dying or what. And so his name's Al, and he describes this whole thing to me. I got his name and everything. She says, oh, it was the end of 3 hours. I was doing it for 3 hours, and I said,
no, you didn't get his name.
I did. So her and I guess all her friends in this group, you haven't told me his name yet, though. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I felt a bit tired. So I said, you know what? We could do this again, perhaps, or you come see me another time, and Al will come through and say hello to you then. And the whole group went, like, you just said his name. I said, oh, cool. Well, anyway, so I'm about a year or so later, I'm somewhere else, miles and miles away. And two ladies come in to sit down for a private session. And I don't know who they are, never seen them in my life. And this guy starts talking to me. I said, oh, what happened to you? He said, oh, I was killed in a truck instantly. And he describes what happened. And I said, oh, wow. I said, that's almost identical to this other guy that died like that. I said, that's amazing. He said, well, it's me. Oh, you're Al. He said, yeah, I'm Al. I said, oh, my gosh. Well, who are these people? He said, oh, that's such and such, and that's such and such. I hadn't said a word yet. I said, oh, Al is here. He wants to talk to you. You're such and you're such and such, and he wants to say hello to you, and blah, blah, blah. And off we went.
Wow.
Because, you know, because I remembered Al, because that was such a, like, oh, wow.
Because it was such a prominent, different kind of, I suppose you're going to remember something like that. It's not something you're going to forget easily, is it?
No. There's so many unique things that happen that I just think, well, I want to write a book. I've written about a lot of these things, but I want to put it in a book, and I want it to have lots of pictures of Marty's in the book. It's a big operation. And I don't want it to be a self-published thing because it never goes anywhere. Nobody ever sees it. So I have to remember some of it. But of course, like you said,
it's hard to retain information that's not meant for you.
I don't know the whole story. Like I'll say, I remember they said this. But you don't know that this was this. And I'm like, what? And they tell me this most amazing story about the things I said to them. And I think, wow, that's incredible. And those are the things that I only find out if they tell me.
If they tell you, yeah.
Same with pictures. I don't know, you know, they might say, well, that's my grandpa, but I don't really know until they send me a photo to match. And it's hard to get some people to do that, you know.
Well, that's
See, I
what,
find the drawing side incredible. It just amazes me
No, thank you.
that you
Sometimes
can.
it amazes me.
there have been a few, a handful, just really literally a handful of psychic artists like Marti. There was Coral Polge. She did it for about 50 years. She was on TV a few times. She was same as Marti.
Another English
but
person.
she was conscious, but she wasn't an artist like Marti. She had to learn to draw.
Right, so
you know, to capture them properly. Whereas Marti's a full artist, and but there's another one from years and years, like 1920s. We have a little book of his. He was a deep trance medium, and those pictures are extraordinary because he's a deep trance and he can't draw. Yeah. So the person would just take him over and draw the portrait, and it's like, wow, you should see those.
I do have other artists on the other side sometimes come and help me out.
I was going to ask you that. Do you sometimes have help from the other side?
Yeah, my favorite one of all times was, and it's happened like I think 3 times, Van Gogh has come through and helped.
No.
Yeah, well, there's some kind of connection with Van Gogh, the spirit guide, with us. The lady that, you know, so how can we prove that Van Gogh is coming in helping Marti, which he does, I think, more often than she realizes. So this woman came and sat with us, and Marti drew Van Gogh's uncle. Is it Van Gogh's uncle or her? No, her uncle.
Her uncle,
who was good friends with Van Gogh, and she had letters.
Wow.
He had all these letters of correspondence, and he was somebody that helped Van Gogh, and she drew him.
Great uncle.
Great uncle, I think. Yeah. But the portrait that she drew of her great uncle is great. The mustache, everything. I mean, it's just great. So I thought, wow, that's cool. There's a good connection right there. So then the woman, some years later, comes to see us again, and we forgot who she was. So she sits down, and Marti draws this man without any whiskers, but it was Van Gogh with no whiskers.
We actually found a painting that he did when he didn't have a beard.
Yeah, and she says, "Oh, you've drawn Van Gogh," and we went, "What?" And we looked, and sure enough, yeah, it was.
Wow.
So he had
people are saying if you guys talk about your book, Jen Lowe says, please do a book, it would be amazing. Shelley says a book would be amazing. Agreed, a book would be amazing. I read you do meditation yoga. Would you recommend it? Oh, we've got Jen's asking.
Yeah, yoga is the most complete science. It's thousands and thousands of years old, and they've documented all aspects of mind, body, spirit connection and how everything works. So it's the most complete understanding. It's where all our Western psychology comes from. And I mean, Jung, you know, not Freud so much. Jung, you know, studied all the Eastern philosophy and everything. And that's so all of our like Western stuff stems from that. You know, Sanskrit is the oldest language on earth. It's a scientific language. It's a sound language. It's a vibration language. When you speak Sanskrit, you are it produces profound effects on you if you do it right, because it's a sound frequency language. It has to do with archetypes. So if you study Sanskrit and you study the yogic tradition, you can't do better than that, because you know, people think yoga is just
the hatha yoga.
Yeah, they just think about twisting yourself into a pretzel, but that you know, that's
the first thing you think, though, isn't it?
That is just to prepare the body for the other yogas. That's all that is, to get the body able to stand the current that's going to come in. You just got to get the body able to handle the rest of it. So it's just a preparatory thing, really. You've got mudra yoga, you know, you've got bit tired, had a rough night. You've got Raja yoga, you've got Nani yoga, you've got Bhakti yoga, yoga of love. You've got mantra yoga. You've got, like I said, mudra yoga.
There are also so many different ones.
Well, but they're all tied together. But each one angles towards your preference. So,
right,
like somebody who's very intellectual, you know, very intelligent and very deep thinking, probably can only get to God through the best course of action might be through Raja yoga, which is to think everything to its ultimate conclusion. To go beyond the mind. So you use the mind to break through the mind and go beyond the mind. That's Raja yoga. Jnana yoga is understanding the connection of the universe, like contemplating, like if you take a fish out the sea, you lower the depth of the sea. You do. If you remove, yeah, it's quite a thought, isn't it? You take a fish out the sea, the sea is lower.
You don't think of, because you don't think of.
Yeah, no, but this is Jnana yoga. You contemplate the perfect connections of the whole universe. That's what you do. You're interconnection with it all. The oneness is about like connecting with oneness. And then Bhakti yoga is just love. So everything is understanding everything through love, just love. It's one of the highest yogas, but hard because you have to feel love and you have to experience it just through love. Whereas intellectuals tend to not often feel the connection of love because they're so intellectual, you know, everything's just intellectual to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a predominantly this, but you can do all the other yogas as well, or you're predominantly this way, you know. Like I said, there's 8 main branches of yoga, and yoga, you can't do better. There's some great books called, that are a series by a man called Rama Charaka. Rama Charaka. He wrote these treatises on yoga. They're great. They really help you understand, like, the mind. How does the mind work? How does the subconscious work? How does the superconscious work? All these things which you need to understand. That way you're not afraid. If you see, fear comes from not understanding something. If you're doing astral projection and you're leaving your body and you forgot that when you feel like you're moving down, you're actually moving up, you'll freak out. You'll go, oh, and you'll be back in your body, and you'll read the book again. You go, oh, that was dumb. You know, if I forgot, you know, so
that actually goes back to that question of how do I enhance my gifts?
Yeah. I can suggest
abilities.
Nothing better than doing yoga.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no fear. And
you have to be brave.
You have to be brave. You can't have doubts.
You can't. Yeah. When I first got into this, when I was like 18, in a big way, I would sit in my little grandma's spare room where I lived, no heating in the place, wrapped up in a blanket like some yogi in the Himalayas, right?
Yeah.
My duvet wrapped around me because I was freezing, cross-legged on my chair, staring at the flower wallpaper on the wall, looking at one flower for as long as I could and not thinking about anything else, just looking at that flower, focusing my concentration, not listening to the dog or the plane going over. You know, concentration. You have to have tremendous concentration. If you can't concentrate, you will not be any use at anything. You'll know everything that you do in life demands concentration. it's easy to do something that you love. Oh, you get wrapped up in it for hours. You're painting and you forget the world, right? Well, if you love doing it, that's great. But if you're in another situation and you don't apply your concentration because you don't like it, you'll fail. You'll have a rough time because you're not in control of your mind. So you have to gain control of your mind. You have to gain control of your thoughts so that they don't waver when you don't want them to. You have to be the master of your mind and your body and your destiny. You have to be in control of it. And so I'd sit there and with the attitude of like a Zen master or a samurai, right?
Yeah.
What if I reach the point where my heart stops for a minute, which I did on one occasion. I managed to make it stop beating, and then I started it again. Things like this. But what happens if something goes wrong and I die? Am I prepared to die? Yes, I am, because I want to know what I am. Got it?
Yeah.
If you're not that committed to pursuing this, you'll only get so far. You'll just and there's like lots of fears that you have to deal with. Fear of this, fear of that. You have to overcome fear. You cannot be afraid if you want to know what the truth is. You won't get anywhere. You'll only get little tidbits around the edge. You won't uncover the truth if you're afraid. You have to be fearless.
Yeah, it's true. You do. I've learned that the hard way on many occasions over the years. I'll leave it at that. I want to ask you about, sorry, Jen says that was amazing. Thank you. So you've answered her question.
Good.
Shelley said, what a lovely couple. You've both got such a beautiful energy, which you have. And I forget that I'm supposed to be interviewing you because I just sit here and listen to you, and I'm just sit here and listen to your voice. Could you literally just sit here and listen to your voice? I forget I'm actually supposed to be part of this conversation, and I'm meant to be actually asking you questions. I just completely get lost it listening to you. But what I do want to ask you about is obviously what everyone wants to know about is Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures, yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Those guys are awesome. They really are. I mean,
we have so much fun.
I know it's all dramatic and everything, but I think it's great. I mean, Zach is like a ringmaster.
He's been going how long? So
yeah, I mean, he does. I know it's all dramatic and all that, right? But they're really doing it's the real deal what they're doing. We've been on there 6 times now. The 6th one will air, like I said, January 4th. And they do not interfere with us. They don't tell us anything. They just let us do our thing. And it's magic, I'll tell you. When we do this with them, it's magic. It's like it's 7th heaven for us, because we're just free to be as we are, do what we do.
Whatever happens, happens.
And whatever happens, happens. And they haven't let us down, the spirit world, to date. It's like we come away going, wow, that was magic again. That was real magic. So we feel honored to be part of it. We love doing it with them. I wish we could do it more often with them. But the times we do it with them, it's awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing with everybody else, what is this new episode going to look like? Because we have no idea. But
we don't get the same investigation or the follow-up.
Yeah, we just go there. We're there for an hour or 2, and that's it. And then we just say hi, bye.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you get to go? Do you get well, obviously you get to go, but I mean, I was going to ask you, when you do go, in the case of you literally, in my words, rock up, do your thing, and when you've done it, that's it. You're off.
Because then they only have so much time. They're in and out, so they have to rush off and do their investigation. Then
you promised me to include us in the investigation, though, one of these days, because I told him, because I'm not afraid of any of it. So, you know.
I was going to say.
I shove her in first. I say, "Will you go in
Shove
first?"
her in first.
I used to live with ghosts, so
Yeah.
it's no biggie to me.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be an awesome episode. Zach,
How much you're allowed to tell us about it? Obviously, it's airing on the 4th. It's on Discovery Plus.
I'll tell you that when we chatted with Zach afterwards, he said that the evidence is incredible that they got, and I knew that they would get some amazing evidence in that place because there's stuff going on there. I tell you, it's. I can't say.
No, that's all right. I'm used to that. I'm used to it. I'm used to chatting to people.
They separated us again, so I'm put into this room all by myself with a camera, and just drawing.
That was going to be my next question. Did they separate you?
Yeah,
I know they quite like to do that.
Yeah. So, and they took me somewhere else, and you'll see what happens. It's pretty amazing. I can't wait to see it myself.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I bet you don't actually get to see anything until it actually airs. I'm guessing we don't actually see anything at all.
No, we don't know.
Sometimes we know some of the things, but you know,
like
I'm
what?
not. Like when I drew Douglas Fairbanks Jr. that they recognized him.
Yeah, like some of the validations are straight away. We know who they are straight away. Like Dorothy Puente, you know. Marty wasn't sure. I don't think we knew that was her until.
No, we did.
Did we? Did we know?
Well, he said.
I can't remember now.
I don't remember either. No,
I think
they thought it was her.
It was her,
but they didn't really compare it with the picture.
And of course, we didn't know what she looked like. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there are any times where they've actually said, right, yeah, they know exactly who it is, who the picture is, and they can put it up and go, right, that's who that is. So we recognise
Douglas Fairbanks Jr. That episode, I think you can see it some places.
I think you might be able to see it in the UK, but you can't see it in the US.
They had some dispute or something with there was somebody not good at the theater, so they had to cancel that episode. So, which is a shame.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. But the point at which Douglas Fairbanks was telling me he was going to try and make Zach do something if he could. And I said, oh, this would be interesting. I didn't say anything. I said, okay, what's he going to do? And I thought he said, run the legs. Like, rub his legs. I thought he said, rub his legs. I said, rub his legs. So I said to Zach, what do you feel? You know, what do you feel? Feel anything? He says, yeah, I feel like running. So I chuckled to myself. I thought, oh, that's funny. And I realized the guy was saying, run his legs. I'm going to run his legs. Like, I'm going to make his legs run.
Make him up, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, go ahead then. And he ran up the aisle and back. I thought, that's too funny. Well, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., this famous actor, when he bought his house, under the house he had a tunnel constructed, 100-meter tunnel, because he was a runner and he liked to run naked.
Okay.
So he was a runner. That's what he did, and he made Zach run.
That is quite cool.
Now, a lot of people watching the show would have loved to have him.
I was going to say, I bet, yeah.
Okay, Zach, strip off and do your
off you go.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. That'd be hilarious.
Is it? You don't have to answer, but is it true that he can be quite a shy person? I've been told in some ways. If he doesn't know you, and he's not. He doesn't really do interviews, does he, and things like that. He's not really one to.
He's a very private person. I mean, we hardly know him really. I mean, I don't bug him. I don't get on the chat and just bug him every day. You know, he's he's a private person, and we respect his privacy. It's like I would like to know him more. I'd like to. I mean, if we lived in Las Vegas, probably hang out with him a bit more. But I don't know. I'm just glad that we're friends like this, and we do the show with him. It'd be like I said, it'd be awesome to do a bit more with him because, like I said,
I'm saying it's a shame. That's the only complaint I've got. Is the fact that when you, it's not your fault, but the only complaint I've got is when you guys do go on and do his show, we don't actually see enough of you. That's my only complaint because, like that's why I said it seems. I know it seems
more.
Well, yeah, because you're not on there very often, are you? It's not, you know, you've not been on there many times, and when you have been on, you literally, like I said, you, in my words, you rock up, do your thing, and go, and that's it. And you're like, oh. They're going to come back on, and
yeah, I know.
You know, they need to have you. Tell them, come on, sort them out, Marty. Tell him you need to be on the show a bit more. The viewers want to see us.
Well, you got to realize it's their show. I mean, it's
I know
it's Zach's show and the guys.
If we could get our own show, that'd be great.
Maybe we can do an offshoot with it. You know,
yeah,
that'd be awesome. You know,
that'd be cool.
I would just like people to see more of the kind of stuff we do, because I mean, you got to realize we're talking to people on these shows that nobody's ever met. We've never met these spirits. Zach hasn't met them. You know, none of the guys have met any of these people. None of us have met I forgot his name now.
Who?
Douglas Jr.
Doug Fairbanks.
Douglas Fairbanks. None of us have met him. None of us have met Dorothy Puente. None of us have met any of these people. When we were at the airbase, the March airbase that we went to with them, one of the main communicators that was talking to me full on, which you don't see on the episode, was a man who was one of the founders of the airbase.
Oh.
But it wasn't included in the episode because they didn't have room.
It's funny. I was going to say, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like having, that's the thing with these shows, is the fact is what people do, because I've got friends in the industry and stuff, and what people don't understand is the fact of, you know, they can be there for hours, they can be there for days just for one episode. So they have to really pick which bits to put in.
Yeah. Well,
and sometimes really great pieces get left out because they just haven't got the room for it.
That's right. And it
or
would
it
have
didn't
been
fit the timeline, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you got to understand that at some places you have this connection, which is all about this. And then you have another connection coming in and it's all about that. So are you going to cover both things, or are you going to focus on one?
Like on that one, it was like two different eras.
Yeah, it was
completely.
And I knew that by some of the stuff I said that you don't see, because I kept saying there's like so many layers to this place, I kept saying. And I had to fish through and think, which era am I in here, you know? Am I back there or am I here? And so this guy called Henry is talking to me. You can look him up afterwards with some of the people if you want. But I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Henry." And I could see him. He had he had white hair around the sides. He was bald on top. And he told me, of course I had the blindfold on, so I don't know where I am. He told me, I am the main person here, because I said, there's so many people here. He said, well, I'm like one of the main people here, and I more or less built this. I founded this, he said.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And he said hello to them. He said, oh, he's saying hi to you guys, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out the sound man, who was sort of a skeptic until the theater, when I confirmed a man that he saw walk across. That
spooked him out.
That he went, oh my gosh, I really did see somebody. I said, yeah, you did. And he got on his phone straight away. We had the blindfolds off then, and he looks it up, and there was a man called Henry Hap for Happy, Colonel Henry something or other. Can't remember his last name. But he was the protege of the founder of the United States Air Force.
Wow.
He was the second person, basically, in the United States Air Force. And he was the third person trained by the Wright brothers to fly a plane. And his name was Henry Happy. They called him Hap for Happy. And he was white hair on the sides, bald on top. And he was the one that basically put that air base together.
Wow.
And he was the one that I wanted to have a long conversation with. But it didn't get aired.
I think he's the one that I drew too, except that I drew glasses on him.
Yeah, I know. I think you drew him, yeah. But he was a really nice guy, you know.
So you have so many stories, and you have so much. We've gone well over an hour already. It's like, so I just sit here. Everybody just sat here. No one's even asking questions because they just sat here listening.
Well, if anybody's got any more questions, if you want to keep going, I don't know. I mean, are we done, or we've got to end?
We haven't got to end. Everyone's just gone quiet. They're still there. They've just gone quiet. They're just listening. Well, I think everyone's just in awe of you and the stories that you've got and the things you've experienced, you know. I just find it so interesting.
Well, that's what it boils down to, isn't it? Experience. But you have to give yourself experience. Experience doesn't just come to you. You have to make it happen. You can't just it's like when people say, well, am I going to meet someone? And I'm like, well, you don't go anywhere. Well, yeah. Well, how are you going to meet someone if you sit at home? You're not going to meet someone, are you? No. You don't go anywhere. You don't do anything. Well, yeah. Oh, God. Have you tried online? Oh, no, I don't. Oh, okay. My mum did when she was 67, right? 68?
69.
69, that's right. She got on Match.com, met the man of her dreams.
Wow.
Got married happily in love for 8 years. Blissfully happy.
That's lovely though. No one's asked questions. I told you, they just comment. She's spot on, Karen. I could listen all night. Jessica's mesmerized by the conversation. So I told you, because I just no one's got a question because they're just more interested in what you've got to say.
Well, are there any more questions then? And has anybody got any other things they want to?
And I'll go back and see if I've missed anything, because I've literally been the same. I've been forgetting about all the comments here and kind of just been listening to you. I've been the same, listening to you, just captivated by listening to you and your stories. I've actually forgot about looking at the comments. I am not gonna. I do apologise, people. No, we just got comments. Libby says, your programs are always fascinating. Later, people are asking about readings. I said we're not doing readings this evening.
They can go to our website and.
I was going to say that's the next thing I was going to ask you about is your website. You've got a website. I'm sure I've put.
Yeah, it's been around for decades. I know it doesn't have a little green verified thing, but it's been there forever.
And what's the link for your website?
It's spiritart.com. spiritart.com. And all the information you need is there to contact us. Phone number,
do you offer readings to the general public if they contact you in
Oh yeah, we do them all the time. Yeah, we do them all over the world. We do either phone or Skype, all over the world. And
either one,
what
doesn't
happens
really matter.
Yeah, what happens is the spirit people come to us, stand in front of us and around us, and off we go. And they'll just start talking away, and I'll look around, see who's talking to me. I'll be looking here and say, oh, okay, and blah blah blah. And
I'm glad you said that, because I do that. I've got a bad tendency that when I'm doing a reading, I'm reading for the person there, but I'm talking to that person, not that person, because obviously they're the one giving me the information, so I'm paying more attention to them than the person I'm reading for. They're like, why don't you look at me? I'm like, I'm sorry, it's because I'm looking at them, because they're either stood behind you or at the side of you, or they're stood next to me. So because I'm having a conversation there with them for you.
Yeah, sometimes I've got more and more where I sometimes just talk out loud instead of thinking what I'm thinking with them.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that more, I think, just to demonstrate that there is a conversation going on, you know, because this isn't a psychic thing that we do. I'm not pulling things out the air psychically. I'm not getting it from your aura. I'm not reading your mind. I'm having a conversation with a spirit person, and there are moments where I'm not quite sure I understand where they're going with a particular avenue or what exactly they just said to me. Did you say this, or did you repeat it to me? Mm-hmm. You know, did you say Mac or Mick? And who is that? You know, did I get that right? Yes. Okay. So
it's funny sometimes because the people that we're sitting with are saying,
are you talking to me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
I've had that before. I'll say, can you say that again? And I'll be talking to spirit and go, can you say that again for me, please? And they're like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, oh no, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens when we're in doing it live with someone, or sometimes on like Skype or over the internet, is that the spirit person I'll let them have more free reign. So I will do things that they did. So I'll act as though, well, not act as though I am them. It is.
No, I was going to ask you, do you tend to take on their
they'll occupy
mannerisms and things?
Yeah, I'll let them take over, basically.
Yeah.
And they'll just start doing things that I don't know what I'm doing. I was once in a, well, I never know what I'm doing, but I was in a group once, just one example, and I was talking to this lady, and her husband was communicating. I said, oh, your husband's here. He's saying hi to you, blah, 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 blah. And I had the microphone and the cord, and there were about 50, 60 people in the room. And all of a sudden, I had to unwind the mic cord because it was all tangled up.
They just stopped talking.
I just stopped talking. I've got camera people there, and I just started unwinding the mic. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing this for? And I realized it was him doing it. I said, what are you doing?
You were just doing it.
What are you doing? I feel like an idiot here. Oh, you've got OCD, I said to him. You can't stand the fact that the mic cord's all wound.
Because it's all wound up. He doesn't like you've got to sort it out.
He couldn't stand it. The OCD got hold of him, and he couldn't bear it. And I said, oh my God, your husband's got OCD. And she said, oh yes, he does.
That's quite funny.
You know, it's pretty funny sometimes. But the funniest one of all was this lady who we'd become friends with. Her name's Roxy. And I have the video, and I should post it, really. The whole group, I think there was a large crowd there. And her sister took me over. And she was so much fun, I just let her take over. I said, okay, do whatever you want. So she has me doing this weird dance at this point. And I got my arm up in the air, and I'm like, I'm doing this weird dance. I said, this is a funny dance, I said. And Roxy gets out of her chair and screams, oh my God, she's making you pole dance. I said, what? Because Roxy used to pole dance for her husband. No, not Roxy, her sister. Her sister used to pole dance for her husband. And I thought, oh my God, she makes pole dance. You know, so it gets really... I felt really weird doing this dance. I said, all right.
It was really weird.
So, so it gets pretty funny sometimes, you know. And, yeah. I thought, kind of a funny dance is this? I said, I had my hand up in the air like this, and I'm like wiggling around. I said, but you see, it just brings up a point. Now, the medium John Edward that had the show years ago on TV,
yeah,
he's too
whatever happened to him?
Well, you know, there was an interesting thing. I felt like he was a bit too machismo.
You got me crying here.
Yeah, I always felt like he was a bit too machismo to let them do that kind of thing with him. You see?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got like a barrier, but he feels uncomfortable with that, which I don't give a shit. They can do whatever they want, as long as they don't do anything.
Make you take off your clothes and run.
Yeah,
naked.
yeah. Well, there
is a limit.
There's a limit. There's been a couple of people that have come in to talk to me, and I think, no, I'm not letting you have the reins because I don't know what you'll do. You know,
you could do anything.
Do so much, but you know, I'm drawing the line here. But there was a wonderful man that came through who I let have full control. His name was Charles Pierce. You can look him up too. The most famous female impersonator in America. Okay, Carnegie Hall president.
I've been making notes, you know, while you've been talking. I've been writing these things down.
Yeah. Well, he came through for a lady, and I let him have free reign. And he was, I don't know if he's gay or he was just very flamboyant. And he had me spin the chair around and do Marlene Dietrich. And I went over to the room. There was a mop in a bucket in the room. And I got the mop, and I'm singing with the mic, you know, with the mop and all this. And she wrote to me afterwards, and she said, I don't know what to call what happened. She said it was like possession, obsession. She said, you were the whole time I was there. It was bizarre, she said. So, you know, there are times when I feel such love with these people that I'm okay, you can do whatever you like, you know.
You kind of know, you just know, don't you, that you can know by the connection you have with them. You know whether it's kind of like, not letting you go too far because goodness knows what you're going to have me doing, or you've got the one of going.
Well, you know, yeah, you're dealing with a person. Yeah. You have to find out who this person is. Who are you?
Well,
yeah.
You don't know them. You didn't know them when they were here. You don't know them now they've gone. Right. Goodness knows what they're going to have you doing or saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
A friend of mine from church, she's an older woman, and when we used to go to church, her dad comes through, and let's say he likes colourful language.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very, very colourful language. And as you can imagine, in church, in a spiritual church, colourful language and spiritual church don't go. And not the church I went to.
I wouldn't gone there then because
and they were it would be and they'd make noises instead of saying what he said. And I will never forget, we did a charity platform night, myself and another medium friend of mine that I've met through church, and she came to it. And her dad came through, and I thought, oh, no. Straight away with his mannerisms, the things he was saying to me, I was like, oh, I know exactly who you are and exactly who you're for. I was thinking, oh, God, what's he going to make me say? What's he going to make me do? I thought, goodness knows what's going to come out of my... And I apologize. And I was like, I apologize when I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, but I apologize now. And that was it. He was effing and jeffing and goodness knows. Oh, wow. But I tell you what, it made her day. That's all that mattered.
We have a well, I won't say it, but we have a friend's mother who's gone over now. She told me when you said the F word to my mum, she loved it. She said, oh my God, you made my mum's day because that's her favorite word. I said, oh.
And you would never know it.
You wouldn't know it to me. You know, when you said that to her, you just made her light up I said, oh, that's funny. Anyway, you don't.
This is what people forget, isn't it? When they've crossed over, when they've gone over, it doesn't mean we have this conversation many times. about the fact that they haven't changed who they are.
No.
They've just gone from one form of being to another. They're not. Their personality's not changed. Their sense of humour's not changed. They're exactly who they were before. They're just not here in the physical form.
They've obviously, if they're on a higher level, because there are levels, you know, like separated by frequency. But if they're, you know, if they've moved on and they're on one of the levels above Earth, not on one of the lower ones, which, you know, a lot of people are there too, in a lot of businessmen and bad people. I mean, they don't go to the next realm straight away, the one above. They have to work through things.
They have to work their way through, don't they?
Yeah. And, you know, so, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm sort of out of it right now, actually. But, yeah. Yeah, no, they how are you going to recognize, how would you recognize your dad or your mum if they didn't come in as you knew them? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, as their personality, exactly.
Different.
It could be anyone otherwise. They're going to be who they were.
Exactly.
You know,
maybe you hated your dad and he hated you, and you come through and say, "Oh, well, your dad says he loves you," and
you loved him. It's
like, really? Yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah. Like, you know, there was a man once. I was in a group and I did this physical thing again, and I was looking down, and I had sometimes my whole appearance looks different to me. Often I'll be in a group and I'll want to know who the communicator is. Oh, this will make you laugh. So this one time I glanced down and my boobs are out here. so I looked down. I can't even see my feet because my boobs are going out here like this. I said, "Oh, God. You're busty." I said, I said to this lady, I said, "Your mum's here." I said, "Blimey, she's out here." She says, "Oh yeah, that's my mum's continental shelf," she said.
Oh my God.
You know, so it's like whoever's standing in me or sitting, it's like somebody will stand in me and I'll be like 6'6" and I'm like out here like this. And I think, "Oh, blimey." I said, "Your father's enormous." I said, he's like this. And she says, "Oh yeah, he's a giant, my dad." And or I'll have somebody very tiny in me, or you know, so whoever it is that's with me, I can totally feel them, and it gets quite humorous sometimes, you know. There's so much humor that comes up.
Can't say I talk chat. I'm not going to forget that.
Just to make you laugh. So we have this one group, and this husband comes in, and I say to this woman, "I've got one of your husbands here. I've got your husband here," I said. And she says, "Well, I've got more than one." I said, "Well, you've got 5. And she didn't say nothing. And the daughter sit next to her like, "No." I said, "Well, this man says that you have a snub nose 45 snub nose Magnum. Now, that's a very powerful handgun. It's a short version of the most powerful handgun in the world." And he's telling her that she's got this gun. And "Yes, I do," she says. This woman's like 5 foot. And if she let that gun off, she'd go flying across the room. And I just laughed. I said, "You've got a 45 snub nose Magnum?" And the whole room just erupted in laughter. They thought it was hilarious. And the daughter's looking at her like, What, man?
You only had 4 husbands.
You only had 4 husbands." She says, "No, I was married to him," she says, "and that's why I got the gun." She was only married to him for 2 weeks, and she got the gun.
2 weeks.
Daughter about him.
She never told him about this one. Pretty funny. Yeah.
That's so funny. I do a funny meeting when you do an audience type thing, and the things that come out, and you did you know that? My mum had the same shelf. Libby says. But it's funny, you know, when you do an audience thing and you just don't know what you're going to say because you don't know what they're going to tell you.
Oh,
and you could be out in all sorts of things you don't know you're doing it.
It's so many times. You know, I said to another woman once, "You haven't had? Would you understand a breast augmentation?" I said to her, and she was with this guy. I didn't know who he was, and no, she shrugged her shoulder. I said, "You don't understand this." And then I said this name, and this lady a few seats over says, "Oh, well, I understand." I said, no. I said, it's for you, I think. It's your mother saying this to me. She just kind of looked at me. Well, anyway, wouldn't acknowledge it. She didn't look big-breasted or anything. She just looked like an ordinary, you know, regular person. Next day, we bumped into her. She goes, oh, I have to tell you something. She said, that was my mother. And I was with my new boyfriend last night. And I've had a breast job and I haven't told him. And my mother would have, if she was alive, she would just tell him. And that's what she was doing.
That's what she was doing. She was outing her, basically.
Doing right in front of everybody. It was pretty funny because I remember thinking, it doesn't look like she's had a breast job. And her mother was insisting, oh, she has. She says, tell her. So it gets pretty funny sometimes. I'm sometimes a little nervous about what they're going to say, but because they've never said anything that wasn't meant to help them. I only one occasion did I edit it, and I never did it again. I only did it on one occasion. We were in a group and this lady's husband who killed himself came in, and I said to her, oh, your husband's here. This is how he killed himself, blah, 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 blah. He's saying hello to you. And she says, ask him. I said, do you want to ask him anything? And she says, yeah, ask him why he did it. I said, well, do you want to say? Are you going to tell me? Well, you might not. You know, some people are just depressed forever. And there's no real reason except depression. And he said, well, I was having an affair with her best friend. Yeah. Oh, I went, in my mind, I went, oh, shit, I'm not saying that. I said, well, you know, he was a very troubled spirit. I danced around. I wouldn't say it to her. I thought, I'm not saying that to her. And she apparently was with like 10 friends and family in this group. There were like 60 people there, and she was with all these people. I said, I said, I struggle. I wouldn't say it. I just wouldn't say it to her. I said, well, you know, anyway. So he said a lot of other stuff that was all validated, but I couldn't say that to her. So
I know, how could you? I would know.
Well, this brings up a very important point. This is why I'm saying it. So as everyone was leaving, she was one of the last people to leave. And I said, I need to talk to you. So she would come over and I said, I've got to ask you something. When you ask that question, do you know the answer? Do you know why? And she said, yeah. I said, so if I told you that he was having an affair with your friend, do you know that? And she said, yes, I do. Would it have been all right for me to say that in front of everyone? And she said, yes. And I thought, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. I never edited anything again.
They're not going to say anything that would hurt somebody.
Not if you're a genuine medium. There are lots of bullshitters out there that will say things, and they're offensive to people, you know, because they're not real. They'll say things to people that just, you know, they're phonies.
Yeah, I've seen that. I have seen that.
They will say things like, I know some famous ones that have called people liars because they wouldn't accept a piece of information and things like that. It's like, you don't say that to people. I've never said that. I've never called anyone a liar. I've had people that were drunk, atheists, it's like, just will not acknowledge what's said because of some reason or other, but I don't get upset with them. I just think, oh, well, maybe
someday they'll,
someday I'll come round or that's okay. You've be as you are, you know, it doesn't affect what I'm doing with everyone else, you know. But that's why I'm saying this. So I never edit anything. If they say it to me, I know I'm meant to say it to them. It's a simple.
I used to, admittedly, because I was only when I first started out, because of I was like, well, when I first started out, a couple of things that I was told, that information I would to be passed on, and I was like, oh, that's a bit. Do I repeat that or not? But then obviously I soon learned that you give what you get, because that's the whole point.
You're
they're telling you for a reason.
You're not there.
You're not judging joy for anyone. No, if you're giving it, you're giving it.
You're the instrument. You're just being the instrument for them, and it's a deal. You've made this deal. You're going to do what they ask of you, and sometimes it's a bit rough. I've had people bawl their eyes out because somebody that abused them has come in, and they're trying to say sorry to them, and it's brought up all this baggage. But the thing is, they're trying to help them, because if you're carrying around a hot coal, you're the one getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know, it's only hurting you, and often they're trying to relieve you of the damage they did to you. So if that happens, you know, which happens frequently, our sessions are not always fun. You know, they're like, oh my God. I sit there thinking, geez, you know, 6 family members have committed suicide for this one person. Oh my gosh, you know, husband's confessing to this after he died. It's like, oh my goodness, it's not fun. People might think that the funny things I've shared with you, you know, it's kind of like it's a whole mixture. So
yeah, well, it's going. Everyone's different. Everyone has different experiences. Everybody has different lives.
Yeah,
and everyone crosses in a different way. Not everybody crosses the same and for the same reasoning. So
that's, you know,
why
people ask us, you know, what can we say about what a reading is going to be like? You can't, because you don't know.
All I do is try and prep people. I say, just be ready for the unexpected. Just think big, because we're not I've got your grandpa here. I've got your grandma here. Oh, it's not your grandma's still alive. It must be your great grandma. That's not what we do.
Grandparents do come in.
Yeah, of course they do, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. It's not.
We get the neighbor in that just wants to say hello to his son that just moved to his house, you know, or friends or people they don't even know have died, you know, that they find out hours later or minutes later that they died. They didn't even know they were dead, and they're coming in. So I always tell people, think big, just be prepared for, you know, right.
I always say be open-minded and don't come with I always say be open-minded and don't come with expectations, because if you don't have expectations, you're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, well, so many people.
You might still be, but you know, that's the way that's something that I've learned. That's just something I say, because you know, otherwise people do come with an expectation, and they want to speak to this person, and they want to know about this, and they want to know about that, and they don't get it, and then you're rubbish, and you haven't got a clue.
It says they can do that. You know, I wouldn't go to them at all.
Yeah, I think well, let's leave it at that, shall we? I'm going to say thank you to you both for joining me. It's very much appreciated. And on the note of the things you said about suicide and so on, for those viewers that are out there, we are actually doing a virtual event in January, another festival. But this festival will run from Friday evening until Sunday, straight through. And we are actually doing it for charity. And we are doing it for a charity called Calm. So it's Campaign Against Living Miserably is what what Calm stands for, basically. And we are actually doing a weekend event to raise money for that. And I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining me. I'm going to just play a short video for anyone that doesn't know about it, so you can find out about the charity and why we're doing what we're doing. So thank you, Marty Michael. Thank you to the
Thank
viewers.
you.
It's very much
I
appreciated.
enjoyed doing this with you guys, and thank you for everyone being on, and thanks for your questions, and I hope you enjoyed our little chat.
And have a happy holiday.
Have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah. Holidays, Christmas, it's all the same.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.